Hello, greetings to everyone. My name is Nabila Amira binti Muhammad Anwar, and I am with my co-presenter.
Hi, my name is Dila.
Okay, so we are going to present about personality analysis based on the movie called Maleficent. So first and foremost, we're going to watch the movie's trailer.
I know who you are. You've been watching over me my whole life. I know you're there. Your shadow, it's been following me ever since I was small. Don't be afraid.
I am not afraid.
Then come out.
Then you'll be afraid.
Okay, so for the first slide, I'm going to introduce you the main character, which is also the evil character in this movie, which is obviously Maleficent. So for the next slide, I'm going to talk a bit about her life background and history. So Maleficent was born in an enchanting forest called the Moss, and she was an orphan as her parents were killed by the humans. So moving on to the next slide, which is major life events. As you can see in the slide, there are three major life events. Change. Okay. So So for the first event is when Maleficent had a war with the previous king named King Henry, as he and his army descended to the border of the kingdom in an attempt to invade the Moss. So the second event is when Maleficent's wing gets stolen, and she was extremely furious by the betrayal caused by her childhood best friend and lover. And the last one is, of course, Maleficent cursed Aurora to avenge her vengeance to King Stefan. Moving on to the next slide is the theory part. I've chose two theory, and the first theory is the theory of neurotic needs by Karen Horney. So as you can see in the slide, this is the flow of the theory, and it all started with the basic anxiety. So what is basic anxiety? Anxiety in this theory is not the feeling of nervous, but Horney defined this anxiety as the feeling of being lonely and helpless in a hostile world. So what comes after that is the neurotic needs. But before we talk more about neurotic needs, what is the definition of the neurotic itself? Neurotic means a mental illness or condition in which a person is depressed, stressed, overreacting. Basically, everything is negative. Okay, what is neurotic needs? Neurotic needs is the 10 irrational defenses against anxiety that become permanent part of the personality and that affect behaviors. And these neurotic needs leads to neurotic trends. What is neurotic trends? Neurotic trends is three categories of behavior and attitudes towards other people that express a person's need. So to sum it up, when you're feeling lonely or helpless, you tend to have some of these 10 needs, and it leads you to behave towards other people. As you can see, there are 10 needs in this list and 3 personality in the neurotic trends. Okay, so moving on to the second theory. Okay, so the second theory is the Big Five personality theory by Costa and McRae. Okay, so this theory is basically about the factors that affect your personality. As you can see, there are 5 traits in the theory. And surprisingly, everyone has all these five traits. So what differentiates us is the level of high or low of these five traits. So I'm going to explain one by one the definition of it. So what is openness? Openness is the tendency to appreciate arts, values, feelings, and behavior. Okay, conscientiousness is when you never late for a day. You are a very organized person. You're very hardworking person. Next is extroversion. Extroversion is the tendency to be talkative. You have a dominant lifestyle. You enjoy others. Okay. Okay. Agreeableness is a tendency to go along with other people. And last but not least is neuroticism, which means a tendency to frequently feeling the negative emotions like like sadness, anger, and worry. So moving on to the personality analysis. Okay, so for the first theory, as you can see, there are three events that can be related with the theory. So for the first one is the needs of affection and approval, which leads to compliant personality. Compliant personality is moving towards other people. For example, Maleficent and Stefan became best friends and lovers after years of friendship. The second one is power, which leads to aggressive personality. You tend to move against other people. In this movie, it shows that Maleficent has attacked and murdered anyone who tried to trespass the most. And the third one is the self-sufficiency, which leads to detached personality. Detached personality is when you're moving away from other people. For example, Maleficent withdraw from everyone after her wings get stolen. So moving on to the second theory. Okay, so for the first one is openness. So in this movie, it shows that Maleficent is a quick learner and independent at a very young age, despite growing up alone without her parents. This means she of course she independent because she lives alone by herself since she was young, and she also a person that love to that like to explore more about her power. She learned a lot about her power by herself. So this shows that Maleficent has a high level of independence and curiosity. The second one is conscientiousness. So once Maleficent's servant Devil told her about Stefan's daughters, that there will be christening in the palace. Uh, she take this as an opportunity, and she plan not an attack, but something to surprise the king. And eventually, she cursed his daughter. So this shows that Maleficent has a high level of organized. She's very organized person and punctual because she's not late even a second when she came to the palace. The third, okay, the third one is extraversion, in which Maleficent preferred to be alone most of the time instead of spending her time with other creatures in the malls. So this referred to the low level of extraversion because she preferred to be alone. She doesn't associate with other creatures in the land. The next one is agreeableness. As the most guardian, Maleficent would risk her life as she will be in the front line to protect the most from the human attack. This show a high level of helpful because she helped the other creature to protect the land, and she would go along with other creatures to protect the kingdom together. Last but not least is the neuroticism, in which Maleficent becomes a depressed fairy as she is betrayed by Stefan, whom she loves. So yeah, when she knew about Stefan is becoming a king, he has a wife, and soon has a baby. She become very jealous, and she uh, thinking too many negative thoughts about what she might do to give a valuable lesson to him. So moving on to next character.
Alright, for the second part is second main character in this movie, which is Aurora. we continue, so let's talk about the life background and history of Aurora. So in this movie, the first highlight was Maleficent and Aurora has built a strong relationship, just like a mother and daughter relationship. Then the second one is Maleficent act to prove that true love is non-existent by casting the curse to Aurora. Then before we continue, for those who haven't watched this movie or you have forget about this character, let's have some flashback about the major life event for Aurora. So Aurora is the one and only child of King Stephen and Queen Lela, and she also a goddaughter of Fairy Maleficent. She has been cursed by Maleficent during her christening, which meant Aurora was fall into a sleep like death on her 16th birthday after pricking her finger on spindle of spinning wheel in the palace. At the end of this movie, we see that Aurora is crowned as a queen for both the human and fairy kingdom, and she also reunited with Prince Philip. Move to next slide, which is the theory. So for Aurora personality, I have choose two theories, which is the birth order theory by Adler. So based on this theory, uh, let me explain about the every each stage for this theory. For the first child, or we known as the elder child, they may focus on attention and battle to regain supremacy. So this kind of persons, the characteristic was mostly the organized person and authoritarians. Sometimes they also insecure and stubborn, hostile towards others. And mostly they work in independently because they was elder, right? And then the second child was the middle child. The older sibling always be the pace setter and competitive with them. The characteristic of this person is they mostly being optimistic or spontaneous and easygoing person. And they also are used to adapting and sharing something with others. And then the third child, or known as the youngest child, always being a part of the family, and there was a fast development to others. And the characteristic was they mostly the high achievers in school, and sometimes they also the manipulator, and of course they also the pleasant companion to their siblings and enjoyable. And the last one is the only child, where they remain focused on attention and spend more time with adult because they don't have any siblings. So mostly their characteristic was they're mature early, disappointed when neglected, which is there's no center attention from especially from the parents. And the last one is they feel more self confidence. Move to next theories, which is the psychosocial stage by Eric Erikson. So for this one, for the first group, which is infant, the age range from 0 to 18 months, the crisis was trust and mistrust. And the positive outcome, of course, the feeling of trust from environmental support. Then the negative outcome was fear and concern regarding others. Then for toddlers was 18 months to 3 years old, and the crisis was autonomy, desertion, and doubt. And the positive outcome for this kind of people was they easily to accept the cycle of life and being independent. And the negative outcome, the lack of independence. And for preschool group, the age range was 3 to 6 years old, and the crisis was initiative versus guilt. And a positive outcome, they will be more resilient and empathy to others. And the negative outcome, they have a guilt thought towards others. And the childhood group, the age range was 6 to 12 years old, and the crisis was industry versus inferiority. And the positive outcome is they can develop sense of competitive between each other. And the negative outcome was their feeling of inferiority. And next, adolescence. Adolescent age range between 12 to 18 years old, and the crisis was identity versus role confusion, and the positive outcome was they feel sense of complexity of life. They can find their identity. And for the negative outcome, they enable to identify appropriate roles in life. Then young adults, the age range between 19 to 40 years old, the crisis was intimacy versus isolation. And of course, the positive outcome, their ability to make commitment to others and to love. And the negative outcome was their fears of relationships. Then next, the middle adulthood, the age range between 40 to 65 years old, and the crisis was generosity versus stagnation. And the positive outcome was concern for family and society. For negative, they mostly become selfish and only concerned for their own self. Then the last one is senior, the age range between 65 years old and above. And their crisis was ego integrity, and where the positive outcome, they feel sense of satisfaction in life, and the negative, they would regret over less opportunities of life. For the personality analysis that related to these two theory, which is the first, the bird theory. As you guys know, Aurora was the one and only child of King Stephen and Queen Leila. So based on the Aurora personality, she tend to feel confident to herself, even in whatever situation that she has been through. Then this personality taught Aurora to become early mature, that we can see on how she can adapt herself with Maleficent and Devil. And the last one is disappointed when there's no attention. It's like, in other words, neglected. This personality, we can see that in the scenes when Aurora was locked in the room by her father in the palace. Then when she come back to the palace. Okay. Then next theory was Erikson theory. So Aurora personality was at the fifth stage of psychosocial stage, which is identity versus role confusions, where the group age was 12 to 18 because Aurora was 16 years old, right? Then the positive outcome, we can see that Aurora has consistent and congruent self-image. Then for negative outcome, you can see that she confused of belonging, purpose, and direction in example, she have sense of belonging towards Maleficent. Even she know that Maleficent is only the fairy godmother. Then for the important event that Aurora have to achieve is a social relationship. She should be exposed to a strong relationship and bonding, family bonding since she was young. Alright, so lastly, I would like to share some facts for our personality. Our personality was influenced by 70% of biological factor and 30% of environment factor, which means it's not only 30% and a normal range, but it's very important for each person. Thank you. Where our personality has influenced by 70% of biological factor and 30% of environmental factors. So in this case, the process of developmental was very, very important for each person in the world. So that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.